The meaning of modern art. Level B1, Intermediate. Art has always been a part of human life. From ancient cave paintings to digital installations, people have used art to express emotions, tell stories, and share ideas. But when we talk about modern art, many people feel confused. Some look at a painting with just a few lines and colors and say, I could do that. Others think it's strange or meaningless. So, what makes modern art different? And what does it actually mean? A new way of seeing. Modern art began in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when artists started to move away from traditional styles. Before that time, art was mostly about realism, showing people, nature, and objects as they really looked. Painters worked hard to create perfect perspective, light, and anatomy. But then came artists like Claude Monet, Vincent van Gogh, and Pablo Picasso. They wanted to paint not what they saw, but what they felt. Instead of copying reality, they wanted to show emotions, energy, and imagination. Monet used light and color to capture the moment. Van Gogh painted with passion and movement, turning simple scenes into emotional experiences. Picasso broke objects into geometric shapes to show different perspectives at once. This was something completely new. Art was no longer about copying the world, it was about interpreting it. Breaking the rules. Modern artists loved to break the rules. They experimented with new techniques, materials, and ideas. Some painted with their fingers, others glued objects to the canvas, and some even created art out of trash. The goal was not to please everyone, but to make people think. For example, in 1917, the artist Marcel Duchamp took an ordinary urinal, placed it in a gallery, and called it Fountain. Many people were shocked. Was it really art? Duchamp said yes, because the idea behind the object was what mattered. He wanted to show that art is not only about skill, but also about thought. This idea changed everything. Feelings over perfection. One of the main messages of modern art is that there is no single right way to see the world. Art doesn't have to be perfect or realistic. It can be simple, abstract, emotional, or strange. What's important is what it makes you feel. When you look at a modern painting, you might not understand it right away, but maybe it makes you curious, happy, or even uncomfortable. That's part of its purpose. Modern artists want to connect with your feelings, not just your eyes. For example, Jackson Pollock became famous for his drip paintings, where he splashed paint across a huge canvas. There was no clear image, no faces or trees, just energy, rhythm, and emotion. He once said, I am in the painting. His art was not about objects, it was about movement and life itself. The role of the viewer. Modern art also gives a new role to the viewer. In classical art, the artist was the storyteller. You simply looked at the picture and understood what it showed. But in modern art, the viewer becomes part of the process. You can interpret the meaning in your own way. Two people can look at the same artwork and feel completely different emotions. One may see beauty, another may see sadness, and both are right. That's what makes modern art exciting. It invites you to think and feel for yourself. Art as a mirror of society. Modern art doesn't exist in a vacuum, it reflects the world around us. Every painting, sculpture, or installation is a kind of mirror that shows what people think and feel in a specific time. When society changes, art changes too. In the early 20th century, the world went through dramatic events: 2 world wars, industrialization, and fast technological progress. Artists began to question everything: traditions, governments, religion, and even human nature. They didn't want to paint peaceful landscapes anymore. Instead, they wanted to show chaos, fear, and hope. For example, after World War I, many artists felt that the old systems of power and beauty had failed. That's why movements like Dada appeared. Dada artists believed the world had become absurd. So their art was absurd: too random words, broken forms, and strange humor. Their message was, if the world doesn't make sense, why should art? Later, during the 1960 seconds and 1970 seconds, another movement called pop art became popular. Artists like Andy Warhol and Roy Lichtenstein started to use images from advertising, comic books, and mass media. They painted soup cans, movie stars, and cartoons. At first, it looked funny and simple, but pop art was actually a sharp commentary on consumerism, how people were becoming obsessed with products, fame, and money. So, modern art became a kind of conversation between artists and society. It wasn't only about beauty anymore. It was about ideas, problems, and identity. Technology and new materials. As the world changed, so did the tools of art. Painters no longer used only brushes and canvas. In the modern era, artists started using photographs, videos, sound, light, and even computers. For instance, digital art allows people to create amazing visuals using software and 3D modeling. Video art mixes film, sound, and performance to tell stories in a new way. Some artists even create interactive installations where visitors can touch, move, or change the artwork themselves. This mix of technology and creativity opens endless possibilities. Art can now be experienced, not just watched. You can walk inside an artwork, like in an immersive digital exhibition. The artist as a thinker. Another important idea in modern art is that artists are not just painters. They are thinkers and philosophers. Their work often asks questions instead of giving answers. For example, Yayoi Kusama creates rooms full of mirrors and colorful dots. Her art looks joyful, but it also speaks about infinity, loneliness, and mental health. Banksy, a famous street artist, paints on city walls to talk about politics, war, and freedom. His works are simple, but they carry deep messages that make people stop and think. This shows that modern art can come from anywhere, not just from galleries and museums. It can appear on a wall, in a park, or even online. What matters is the message behind it, the challenge of understanding. Many people say, I don't understand modern art. And that's okay. You don't have to get everything right away. Modern art doesn't always have one clear meaning. Sometimes, the goal is to make you feel something, or to ask questions. Think of it like a poem. You may not understand every word, but it still creates an emotion. The same goes for abstract or conceptual art. It speaks through colors, shapes, and ideas, not always through clear images. When you visit a modern art museum, try to forget about right or wrong. Instead, ask yourself, what do I feel when I look at this? What does it remind me of? Why do I like it or not like it? These questions make the experience personal and meaningful. Everyday life as art. Another interesting part of modern art is that it often connects with everyday life. Some artists take ordinary objects, a chair, a clock, a shoe, and turn them into art. They do this to remind us that beauty and meaning can be found in simple things. For instance, Claes Oldenburg made giant sculptures of everyday items like a huge clothespin or a melting ice cream. His works make people smile but also think, why do we only value certain objects as art? Modern art teaches us that creativity is everywhere. It can be in a cup of coffee, a song, or a shadow on the wall. How modern art changes the way we see the world. Modern art does something very special. It changes the way we look at everything around us. When you start to notice how artists play with color, space, or shape, you begin to see the same things in your daily life, in buildings, nature, or even in the way people dress. You start asking yourself, why do I like this color? Why do I feel calm when I see this pattern? Why does a certain song or image make me emotional? That's the power of art. It trains your eyes and your mind to notice details. It helps you connect emotion with observation. You don't just see the world, you feel it. This new way of seeing can even make life more meaningful. When you realize that creativity can appear anywhere, in a shadow, a reflection, or a moment of silence, you start living more attentively and more joyfully. The role of the viewer. In modern art, the viewer is not just a visitor. They're part of the experience. Unlike classical art, which simply shows something beautiful or impressive, modern art often invites you to think, react, or even participate. When you look at a painting by Mark Rothko, for example, there are just large blocks of color. But if you stand in front of them quietly, you might start to feel something deep: sadness, peace, or a strange sense of space. The meaning isn't painted on the canvas, it's created between the art and the viewer. In other words, modern art is like a conversation. The artist says something through their work, and you respond with your emotions and thoughts. Every person will see something different, and that's exactly what makes it special. Art as freedom. One of the greatest values of modern art is freedom. Freedom to express, to experiment, and to think differently. In the past, art was often limited by rules: how to paint, what to show, and even what was considered beautiful. Modern artists broke those rules. They showed that creativity has no borders, that a simple line or an empty space can speak louder than 1,000 words. This freedom also encourages us to be more open-minded. It reminds us that it's okay to be different, to think in new ways, and to express ourselves honestly. The global language of art. Today, modern art is a global conversation. You can find exhibitions in every corner of the world, from Tokyo to Sao Paulo, from London to Cape Town. Artists from different countries use their local traditions and mix them with modern ideas. This creates a rich, colorful dialogue between cultures. A painting made in India can speak to someone in France. A sculpture from Mexico can inspire a designer in Korea. Even if we don't speak the same language, we can still feel the message. Art has become one of the few truly universal languages, one that speaks directly to the heart. The future of art. So what's next for modern art? As technology grows, art will probably become even more digital, interactive, and global. Virtual reality and artificial intelligence, AI, already allow artists to create experiences that didn't exist before: moving sculptures, talking paintings, and virtual museums you can visit from your home. But even with all the new tools, the goal of art will stay the same: to express human feelings, to ask questions, and to make us see the world in new ways. The future of art might not be on a wall. It might be inside your phone, your city, or even your imagination. Art belongs to everyone. Perhaps the most important idea of all is that modern art belongs to everyone. You don't need to be rich, famous, or educated to enjoy it. You don't even need to understand it completely. All you need is curiosity and an open mind. Maybe next time you walk down the street, you'll notice a graffiti drawing that makes you smile. Or you'll see how the sunlight paints the wall in a soft orange color. Or you'll look at a strange sculpture and wonder what the artist wanted to say. At that moment, you are already part of the world of art. Art isn't only in museums, it's everywhere. And the more you look for it, the more beauty you'll find. Final thoughts. Modern art isn't always easy to explain, but that's what makes it exciting. It gives you freedom. Freedom to feel, to think, and to see differently. It reminds us that creativity is part of being human. It's about breaking walls, opening hearts, and building bridges between people. Maybe the real meaning of modern art is simple. It's about seeing life with new eyes and realizing that even the strangest shapes and colors can tell beautiful stories.